You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
Okay, does everybody have their coffee? Are we ready to go? I've got my coffee. It's nice and piping hot. It's ready to go. Come on. Go get your coffee. We're going to talk a little bit. Today our conversation is going to be about mediation and how it works and why you should be using mediation. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
I hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a wonderful weekend. I spent just a little bit of time, went to church yesterday, beautiful service, beautiful message. And I think that a lot of us should be going back to church. A lot of times you see churches empty until it becomes time for Easter or Christmas, Thanksgiving, some type of holiday. All of us should be going back to church. I don't care what church that you choose, because I'm not going to preach to you this morning. But I tell you, when you go to church, let me tell you, you may not like organized religion, but that's not why you go to church, because it's organized. You go because you want to be around like-kind believers, or you want to be around an inspirational sermon that's going to touch you, and you apply that to yourself. You don't worry about what happens in the church. You don't worry about all the gossip. You don't worry about the politics and stuff. You don't worry about that. Going to church is your own special time to go. And it's that time where you can get refreshed and get going for the next week. That's why I do it, because I want to be refreshed for the hard stuff between Monday through Saturday. But listen, let's talk just a little bit about mediation, because I'm a mediator and I love mediation work. And I have heard various types of cases between people. I have done partnership mediations when partners are not seeing eye to eye. I have done vendor mediation, contract mediation, real estate mediation. And from time to time, I do family mediation. And I don't get... Sometimes I'll do a divorce case, but very, very seldom. Even though I probably should do it more, because I know how, since I'm an accountant also, it's easier for me to explain the process of splitting out the assets and everything. I should probably do more, but when I do not business, but family mediation now, it's a dispute. It's a conflict. My last one that I did, which was last week, was between grandparents and their children, because they wanted to be able to see their grandchildren, and there had been a falling out between the families, and so I was able to mediate that. And sometimes there's a mediation between a parent and the child, and sometimes we have to get into that. And I don't mind doing that, because I feel that that's part of my job. So I'm sorry, I just threw something at my dog because she decided to play and growl. I have never seen a female dog that is so boisterous when she plays. She will take her beds and she will haul them out into the living room, and you can hear her out there. She's growling, and I don't know what she's doing. I'm afraid to go out there. So sometimes I have to throw a pillow at her to say, hey, I'm recording a podcast. But anyway, mediation. Let's get back to mediation. I may need mediation between me and my dogs. So mediation is very important when it comes to resolving issues. And why should you be using mediation? Well, for one thing, it's a lot cheaper than having to go into court. After you pay the retainer fees and the attorney's fees and whatever else that you need to pay for the court costs and filing the case, it adds up to a lot. When you go to a mediator, the other issue is that it's very confidential. When you go file into court, that becomes public record, and anybody can look up your record. When you are in mediation, it's very confidential. Nobody knows. It's just between you, the other party, and the mediator, and everything is kept in that room. In fact, even the documents after the mediation is shredded. So everything that you've talked about, everything that you've negotiated, everything that you've agreed to is silent. It's quiet. No one is looking you up on the court docs and seeing exactly what's going on with you. And then that gets out to the creditors and everything. It's so much easier for you to use a mediator. Now, one of the things in mediation is the recognition. Okay, each and every single one of you, when you're in a dispute or conflict, you want to be recognized, right? So in hearing and being heard in the mediation session, both parties gain the understanding of the other party's point of view and an enhanced opportunity to be heard and understood themselves. Everybody wants to be heard. That's part of the mediator's role, is to make sure that both sides are heard equally and confidentially. And then it gives each party empowerment. I mean, the parties are empowered to decide for themselves whether and how they would like to resolve this situation. You are in control. But you have to work with the other side, of course. The self-determination aspect of mediation often corresponds to higher aspirations of how individuals in businesses and individuals in family cases want to conduct their lives and do business generally, and to live with each other generally. So you're in control. You have taken the control of saying, okay, mediator, help us out there. We need to resolve this issue. Speed. It's much faster to do mediation. In resolving or narrowing disputes through mediation, parties avoid the delay of a third party or judicially decided outcome. And those cases can be held for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, or even months, sometimes even years, depending on the complexity of the case or the obstinance of the other side. Mediation is very speedy. It can be resolved much faster. Economically, it is much cheaper to go through mediation than it is those high court costs. In resolving or narrowing the areas of disputes through mediation, parties save an enormous, it's a huge savings amount of time and energy and expense associated with protracted conflict and litigation. It's much faster. Think of the speed to get these things done quickly and economically and confidentially. While lawsuits are matters of public record, what transpires at mediation can be kept confidential by agreement. So no one's going to be out there knowing what your business is. That's why I always tell businesses and individuals, mediate, resolve your issues confidentially and silently. No one needs to know. Quality of the settlement also is in fact, studies indicate parties entering into voluntary agreements through mediation are far more likely to adhere to and fulfill commitments made in such agreements. Because at the end of the mediation, the mediator says, okay, this is what you have agreed to. Then he puts it into an agreement form, very simple agreement form, and or he puts it into what is called a memorandum of understanding, so that you both understand what you just agreed to. And it is also a good reality check. Sometimes I'll take I will take the two parties and put them into separate rooms, and I call that a caucus. We call that a caucus in mediation. So mediation, when we put them into these two separate places, can afford the opportunity to communicate important reality check information that may be easier for a client to accept from a neutral party as a mediator. So it's this reality check that also goes through. Sometimes there is no need to take the parties and put them into two separate rooms, unless it's becoming very agitated, and I can feel that there's agitation. But a lot of the times, the party has stated what their issue is, the negotiations begin, the mediator holds each party to the respective subject that needs to be discussed, and a lot of the times you will find out that the two parties are really on the same page. They just don't know it. So mediation is very, very easy, okay? And the other thing is that you avoid bad outcomes. Through mediation, parties avoid both the win-lose and the lose-lose outcomes associated in that long, tedious litigation process in court. Many parties who win in protracted litigation often find the overall experience, energy, and monetary commitment associated with litigation comes at an enormous cost and loss. Those who lose in litigation surely feel even worse about such an outcome. Mediation can spare parties from all of this, and it will also enable them to move forward from disputes efficiently and effectively. And a good part of this is sometimes, if you're really motivated to mediate, you would be surprised at the opportunities that come out of it also. So I strongly believe in mediation. I mediate almost every single day. Today I have no mediation because I'm working on other issues. But when I mediate, I enjoy the experience. I get to hear the stories. I get to help mold the stories so that they all come together and we come to a resolution that both parties have determined themselves that they feel good about. Now, I want you to remember this, okay? A mediator can or doesn't have to be an attorney, okay? Because when you go into mediation, the practice of law is gone. They're not allowed to advise you on the law. They're not allowed you to give you legal opinions. They're not allowed to state anything legally. They cannot practice law inside mediation. That is the law. That is the rules. The mediator can only guide you two together. Ask the right questions. Guide you through the negotiation process to come to an acceptable outcome to both parties. That's what a mediator does. So I encourage you, if you are a family or if you are a business and you are having a employee dispute, or you're having a vendor dispute, or you're having a contract dispute, or you're having an issue between managers or the partners of the company, mediate before it gets out of control. A lot of you have been partners for a long time, and you were friends before that, and now there's something that has come between you, and now you have to bring it together. Mediation is the best way. Mediation is a process that guides both of you to get back on track. Now, there are times where, let's say, a partner or a part of the ownership of a company decide, you know what, I want to retire. Call in a mediator, because then you can mediate the terms of the retirement. Who's going to get the shares of the company, or are they going to sell the company? And so that they can get some guidelines on who's going to buy the company. and what the partners feel about that new partner that's coming in or a new buyer of the company that's coming in. Mediate. If you're going to retire from your partnership or from your business, mediate the process so that everybody is clear. So many different times. I'm going to go back to when partnerships are formed. A lot of the times, people see, yeah, you know what, I really like working that individual. I really want to be in partnership with him. However, so they form this company, in this business, in this partnership, in this obligation to each other, but they forget to outline what each partner is responsible for. And then what happens? It gets into conflict. One feels the other side is doing more work than the other side. One feels one has put more money and time into the company than the other person. One is going in one direction, the other person is going in another direction. And then the conflict begins. The partners begin to shun each other. They're not talking to each other. They begin talking behind each other's back, and it becomes a conflict, and conflict affects the rest of your company. That affects those that work with you because they're stepping on eggshells because they don't know what to do or say or who to say it to. So a mediator comes in and mediates, resolves the conflict. That's the most important thing, is to resolve it quickly before it affects the whole business. Same thing happens in families. So I encourage every single one of you to mediate. If you need a mediator, just send me a text at 818-252-5682, 818-252-5682. If you have a question on mediation, or if you have a point that you would like to make, send it to me, text it to me. It all goes into our company text database, and I answer every single one when they come in. Very quickly, because it pops right up on my computer screen here in the office. Okay, everybody. Mediation's good. Go out and mediate. It's very important. Conflict can do so much destruction for a company or within a family. Settle the conflict. Do it in a professional manner. And you will have even a stronger company with a whole bunch more opportunities sitting on your doorstep the very next day. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. Everybody go out and have a great Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.